This is a Film Stories original podcast.
Ho, 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 we made this.
This episode is dedicated to Ed Asner. Rest in peace, Maurice.
Fade in. Exterior, spooky old house. Night. Gothic organ music provides the atmosphere for this classic horror movie shot. As a legend appears, somewhere Maryland. A misty fog spreads over the ground surrounding the Gothic Victorian architecture of the looming old manor house. There are no lights on. And as camera pulls back, we see in the front yard an old house condemned. No trespassing sign. Its lettering dull and faded from another time. As camera continues to pull, the organ music slowly crossfades with the sound of a Happy Christmas jingle as we cut to interior Agent Mulder's FBI car. Night. Mulder sits alone in his car, the happy jingle playing on the radio. He's keeping an eye on the spooky old house, checking his watch now as headlights wash over him. Mulder looks up in his rearview mirror as the lights become brighter, reaching to turn off the radio, then looking off camera to see Mulder's point of view out passenger window, where we see Agent Scully has pulled up right next to him in her FBI car. She has wrapped Christmas presents stacked in her back seat. She looks rather hassled and not altogether happy to see Mulder, or to be here for that matter. Reverse on Mulder. He waves to her with a forced, guilty smile. As his electric passenger window rolls down, hers is already down.
I almost gave up on you.
The checkout lines were worse than rush hour on the 95. If I heard Silent Night once more, I would have started taking hostages. What are we doing here, Mulder?
Stakeout.
On Christmas Eve?
It's an important date.
No kidding.
It's important to why we're here. Why don't you turn off your car and I'll fill you in on the details.
Scully looks weary, not to mention dubious and skeptical.
I've got wrapping to do, Mulder.
Eyeing her already wrapped cargo.
Oh.
Mulder turns away from her, looking at the house looming in the background. Scully's the guilty one now. Pulled on her, shaking her head at herself as she rolls up her electric window. Angle on Mulder, turning from the house to see Scully, getting out of her car and closing the door. Then she opens the door to Mulder's car and gets in.
Let's hear it.
Off Mulder.
The details.
Look, if you have Christmas stuff to do.
I drove all the way out here. I might as well know why.
I just thought you'd be curious.
Who lives in the house?
No one.
Then who are we staking out?
The former occupants.
They've come back?
That's the story.
Scully is nodding, looking past Mulder to the house.
I see. The dark Gothic manor, the omnipresent low fog hugging the thicket of overgrowth. Wait, was that a hound I heard baying on the moors?
No, I think that was a left cheek sneak.
Mulder, tell me you didn't call me out here on Christmas Eve to go ghost busting with you.
Scully, I didn't call you out here to go ghost busting with me on Christmas Eve.
Yes, you did.
Technically speaking, they're called apparitions.
Call it what you want. I've got holiday cheer to spread and family roll call under the tree at 6 a.m. sharp.
Scully reaches for the door handle, but Mulder reaches for the auto door lock button and quickly locks the doors. Scully turning to him with a look.
You said you wanted the details.
Off Scully.
I'll make it quick.
Angle on the house, through the windshield. Slow pull out.
Christmas 1917, a time of dark, dark despair. American soldiers were dying at an ungodly rate in war-torn Europe. At home, a deadly strain of flu was killing old and young alike. Tragedy was a visitor in every block and a creeping hopelessness set in with every man, woman and child. It was a time of dark, dark despair.
You said that.
Holding up a finger, as if to ask for Scully's forbearance, then pointing this finger at yonder house.
But at 1501 Larkspur Lane, for a pair of star-crossed lovers, tragedy came not from war or pestilence, not by the boot heel or the bombardier, but by their own innocent hand.
Mulder holds Scully's look for a pregnant beat. She doesn't want to admit what her face is betraying. She's curious.
Go on.
His name was Maurice, a brooding but heroic young man, beloved of Lyda, a sublime beauty with a light which seemed to follow her everywhere. They were likened to two angels descended from heaven, who the gods could not protect from the horrors being visited on this cold grey earth.
What happened to them?
Driven by a tragic fear of separation, they forged a lover's pact to be together forever until eternity, never to spend one single Christmas apart.
They killed themselves?
Their ghosts haunt this very house every Christmas Eve.
Mulder holds his arms out, looking at them.
I just gave myself the chills.
It's a nice story, Mulder. Well told. But I don't believe it.
You don't believe in ghosts?
That surprises you?
Well, yeah, kind of. I thought everyone believed in ghosts.
I think everyone would like to believe in ghosts. I think we like to believe the people who say they've seen a ghost, but that doesn't mean ghosts exist.
Bah humbug.
Mulder, if it were any other night, I might let you try to talk me into it, but the halls are decked and I gotta go.
She gives him a tight smile, then opens the door lock, taking the handle and opening the door to exit. Exterior, Mulder's car. Night, continuous. Over the car to Scully, whose head rises up above the car roof as she closes the door behind her. Mulder's door opens in foreground, and Mulder getting out.
All the best to the family.
She turns to him.
What are you doing, Mulder?
He gives her a forlorn little smile and closes his car door, starting out toward the house. Scully watching him, a little surprised by this.
Don't you have somewhere to be?
Over his shoulder.
I'm just going to take a look.
And he's moving toward the house through the low fog, disappearing into the darkness surrounding the looming manor. Angle on Scully. She's still watching Mulder, concerned about him. Concerned enough now to walk out from between the cars as if she's going to follow him. Then she stops herself.
No, I'm not going to do it.
Turns back.
My New Year's resolution.
Scully steps to the car, searching for her keys, but she can't find them. Her hands going from one pocket to the next, but she can't find them. She turns now to look in Mulder's car, when all of a sudden her car alarm starts blaring, headlights blinking, sirening, and horn beeping, causing Scully to about jump out of her skin. And off this, cut to interior haunted house, foyer, night, continuous. Mulder pushes the creaky front door open. Off screen, Scully's car alarm fills the night. Mulder pokes his flashlight inside first, then takes a step in, widening to reveal a rather elegantly detailed foyer, its furniture covered in sheets and cobwebs. After a moment, Scully's car alarm quits and the night goes silent again. Mulder turning to register this before proceeding farther into the house. Cautiously, but not scared. Close on Mulder. Mulder is on hyper alert, expecting at any moment for the ghosts of Lyda and Maurice to materialize before him, as a flash of lightning lights up the house, followed after a moment by a sharp thunder crack. As the thunder rolls out, a creaking door behind Mulder causes him to spin.
Change your mind?
Angle on front door, where Scully stands peeking in, annoyed.
Did you take my car keys?
No.
Come on, Mulder, don't kid around.
Scully steps inside now, looking around.
Why would I take your car keys?
Maybe you grabbed them by mistake.
Maybe it was a ghost.
Suddenly, there is a heavy knocking from somewhere in the house. It's on the floor above them. A banging, walking, like Jacob Marley's ghost. Camera panning to the ceiling, then back to Mulder and Scully are frozen. Scully jumping at the sound of a creepy old grandfather clock as it chimes a spooky melody. Resume Mulder and Scully. As wind now starts to ruffle their hair, coming from somewhere inside the house, the chimes continue. Bundling his arms.
Cold wind.
Scully feels it. Though she's scared, she doesn't want it to show.
There must be windows open upstairs. The weather report was an 80% chance of rain, possibly even a white Christmas.
A strong gust hits them, then a door slams. Camera whipping to the front door. The second double door slams shut. Another bolt of lightning as Scully slides into frame, reaching for the knob. But the door won't open. As she pulls hard on it, fighting to get it open, we go to main titles. We Made This presents an X-Cast production. The X-Files, How the Ghost Stole Christmas.
Had been conducting secret experiments, of which I was the most unfortunate product.
Act 1. Fade in. Interior haunted house. Foyer, night, continuous. Scully is at the front door where we left her, yanking on the knob, but to no avail. More lightning as she turns back to Mulder, standing where he was in the foyer.
I think the spirits are among us.
Mulder, quit trying to scare me and help me get this door open.
But Mulder doesn't move. Lightning again as the thunder gives way to the knocking sound again, which resumes, then stops.
Did you hear that? Someone is walking. There.
A rattle of chains accompanies the knocking. Mulder follows it with his ears, turning from Scully, moving to the stairs.
I really have to go.
And the clanking stops again.
There's nothing to be afraid of.
I'm not afraid, okay?
Ghosts are benevolent entities.
More clanking.
Mostly.
Mulder starts up the stairs, disappearing from Scully's line of sight, leaving her alone by the front door in the foyer.
You aren't scaring me, Mulder.
Scully checks her watch with impatience, curious to see. Scully's watch. It reads 11. Camera panning off to the nearby grandfather clock, which also reads 11. Profile on Scully. Made curious by this, but not any less impatient.
Mulder, I've got to get home.
Another bolt of lightning flashes, illuminates a figure in the room adjoining the foyer. A vague figure of a woman dressed in a flowing robe. It's only there for a moment, for as long as the lightning flash, and then it's gone. Just long enough to get Scully's attention. We saw it. But did Scully see it? She thought she saw it, but she's not sure. Cut to interior haunted house, grand stairway, night continuous. Angle down on Mulder, moving up the steps, homing in on the knocking sound when Scully appears at the base of the stairs.
Mulder!
Shh! What's that sound?
Mulder stops, turns, points toward the ceiling, but the knocking has actually stopped. Scully gives him a look.
These are tricks the mind plays, ingrained cliches from 1,000 different horror movies.
Mulder nods, not accepting a word of it. Turns and continues up.
You hear a sound, get a chill, see a shadow, and allow yourself to imagine something that an otherwise rational person would discount out of hand.
Mulder exits frame past camera, leaving Scully at the base of the stairs by herself. Spooked? She starts up now, too.
The whole idea of a benevolent entity fits perfectly with what I'm saying. That a spirit would materialize or would return for no purpose other than to show itself as silly and ridiculous. What it really shows is how silly and ridiculous we can become in believing such a thing.
Angle on Mulder. He's reached the next floor, which has a rectangular landing off which there are several closed doors. Scully appears behind him.
That we can ignore and disregard all natural laws about the corporeal body, that we witness these spirits clad in their own shabby clothes, with the same old haircut or hairstyle, never aging nor in search of more comfortable surroundings, says much more about the living than it does about the dead.
Mulder moves from door to door, finding each one locked.
It doesn't take an advanced degree in psychology to understand the unconscious yearnings that these imaginings satisfy. The longing for immortality, the hope that there's something beyond this mortal coil, that we might never be long without our loved ones. These are powerful desires, the very essence of what makes us human. The very essence of Christmas, actually.
Mulder and Scully jump when a door creaks open, spinning to see their point of view of door. Directly behind them, one of the locked doors that Mulder just checked is now cracked open. light sneaking out. Resume Mulder and Scully, frozen in their tracks.
Tell me you're not afraid.
Okay, I'm afraid, but it's an irrational fear.
Mulder gives Scully a look. Scully still won't give him the benefit of her ever-creeping doubt. They stand for a moment until Scully moves first, around the landing to the cracked open door, opening it, looking in, turning back to Mulder.
Mulder, did it ever occur to you that there aren't any ghosts here, but that someone might actually live in this house?
He's moving over to her.
No one lives here.
Well, when you and I were in the car, there wasn't a single light on. And look at this.
Mulder steps in beside Scully, looking into, cut to, interior, haunted library, balcony, night, continuous. Angle up on Mulder and Scully, who stand on the landing a level above us, looking down on a beautiful old library, which is lit by a crystal chandelier hanging from its high turret ceiling. The lower level is windowless, though there are 2 closed doors which lead out of the room. The furniture is draped with sheets, as in the foyer and the rooms adjoining it, except for 2 tall wing-back chairs facing the fireplace. The windows on the level where Mulder and Scully stand are high, over their heads, closer on Mulder and Scully.
There must have been some kind of electrical surge.
Did you notice the clock downstairs keeping perfect time?
It is?
Nodding her head.
And how do you explain that?
Scully is pointing off-screen at close-ish angle on fireplace, which has several charred, smoldering logs lying on its floor. Camera adjusting to Mulder and Scully as they climb down the decorative wooden ladder that leads to the first floor, moving to hold their hands to the logs, feeling.
This fire is barely cold.
Yeah.
Scully looks at Mulder, who is nodding silently.
Don't look so disappointed.
And Mulder is. New angle. Mulder looks around as Scully rises up into frame. Through this, there will be small, infrequent lightning strikes.
Who'd live in a cursed house?
It's not enough that it's haunted. It's also cursed.
Every couple who's lived here has met a tragic end. 3 double murders in the last 80 years, all on Christmas Eve.
Scully's reaction is captured in a bright flash of lightning. Causes the lights to go out. The door they entered slams shut. When the thunder dies, there's a new thump, thump, thumping.
There's that sound again.
Mulder tunes his ears to the sound, stepping back to the wingback chairs, from underneath which the sound is coming. Mulder moving the chairs out of the way, looking at Scully with excitement, which she doesn't share. And she's not sticking around. She heads for the nearest exit, one of the 2 doors at either end of this room, moving quickly past Mulder, reaching for the knob, only to find once again a locked door. Looking back at Mulder, standing on the section of floor, the boards of which bend with each consecutive thump. And then it stops. Mulder getting quickly to his knees, putting his ear to the ground, listening. High angle over Scully and Mulder. From the position they first viewed the room, Scully moving quickly past Mulder, heading for the ladder they used to climb down. Camera panning her past Mulder, across the floor, only to find the ladder is no longer there. It has magically and mysteriously disappeared, leaving Scully looking up at camera. As another lightning strike illuminates the darkened room. Resume Mulder, getting up from his knees as Scully backs toward him, into him, truly scared now. Turning to find Mulder with his flashlight under his chin, pointing it up past his face, like every school kid in the world has done.
That's not funny.
There's some kind of hiding space under here.
Mulder moves to the hearth, picking through the fireplace tools. She's got him by the arm, begging.
You have a gun. You know how to use it. Rationally, you've been in far more dangerous situations.
He shakes gently free, then starts prying the floorboards. Cut to blackness. We hear wood being distressed. There's a crack of light appearing. Then off comes the floorboard. Mulder lifting the wood plank away, looking down past camera, flashlight in hand, with an expression of wondrous horror.
I was half right.
Scully's face appears over his shoulder, chancing a peek down in, reacting to the thing Mulder is reacting to.
Oh my god.
Scully's point of view over Mulder. In the hiding space, caught in the flashlight, is a dead male body, horribly decayed, a gunshot wound in its head, its clothes moldy and stained by fluids, the stuff of nightmares. Mulder working now with the tool to get the next plank off.
Look at this, Scully.
Mulder pulls the second plank off, revealing a part of a second body, this one equally decayed.
It's a woman. It looks like they were both shot to death.
Indeed, as Mulder pries the third plank off, the body is that of a female, and though her clothes are moldy, stained from a gunshot wound to her chest, there is something distinctly familiar about them.
You know what's weird?
Scully's fingering her business suit, creeped.
She's wearing my same outfit.
Mulder shines his flashlight on her, then back in the hole. Scully's right. The old moldy outfit is a dead match.
How embarrassing.
Yeah, well, that one's wearing your clothes.
Closer on the first body. Mulder's flashlight beam finds the first body, a male. And indeed, it's got his clothes on. Resume up on Mulder, Scully over his shoulder, both realizing it at the same time.
Scully?
That's us.
Resume previous angle on Mulder and Scully. As Mulder rises up next to Scully, as freaked as she is. A flash of lightning x-rays the room. Mulder doesn't need any goading now. He's a step ahead of Scully, moving to the yet untried door. Camera following them as Mulder reaches for the knob, twists it, and the door opens. Mulder charging through it, Scully on his heels. Cut to interior, first haunted library, night, continuous. Wide on the previous room, as Mulder peeks back in, then Scully. The floorboards which Mulder pried up are stacked the way they were left, and they will be in each consecutive room to come. Cut to interior, second haunted library, night, continuous. The agents step back into the room, Mulder on the move, Scully on his heels, traversing the room, heading to the analogous door at the other end. Camera following Mulder to the door, which is partially open. He pushes the door wide open, charging in, Scully right behind him. Cut to interior, third haunted library, night, continuous. Mulder charging in, then Scully. They stand for a moment, then look at each other, looking around. What the Sam hell's going on?
Okay. I think I've got it.
You go through that door,
Points across room.
and I
should come out this door.
Gesturing to the door behind them. Same following shot, only much slower now. Following him to the analogous door, which we see is partially open. Glancing back over his shoulder as he gets to the door at Scully, watching him as he enters the door. Turning to the door behind her. Moving to it, anticipating Mulder. But no Mulder. She takes a beat, then pokes her head into cut to interior, second haunted library, night, continuous, whitish on room, where Scully pokes her head in. No Mulder. Resume previous Scully, in third haunted library, pulling her head out of the other room, looking back to see. Resume Scully's point of view of the door Mulder entered. It stands open. He's nowhere to be seen. Resume Scully. A flash of lightning x-rays the room again as she starts towards the door Mulder entered. panic rising in her voice.
Mulder? Mulder!
Echoing somewhere off-screen.
Scully!
But she gets no further than mid-room when the door behind her slams, Scully wheeling at the sound, as the door she was headed for slams too. Camera pushing in on her fearful face. Another flash of lightning provides a match cut to interior 4th haunted library, night continuous. Mulder stopped short in the middle of this room, having heard the door connecting these rooms slam to. Mulder moving to the closed door now, camera following him as he rushes to it, grabbing for the knob, twisting it, and the door opens. Mulder charging in to find... Cut to interior 3rd haunted library, night continuous, where we expect to find Scully. We find only an empty room. That is, this is what Mulder finds when he charges in.
Scully? Scully?
But he gets no answer. And off this, we end Act 1. Act 2. Interior, 3rd haunted library, night continuous. High wide angle down to Mulder, standing at the door where we just left him, watching him as he rushes to the door opposite the one he just entered. Angle on Mulder. Coming to this other door, which we saw slam behind Scully, reaching for the knob, twisting it, and it's locked.
Scully?
He pounds on the door.
Scully? Can you hear me?
He pounds some more, listening now. But there is no response. Mulder's mind racing. He reaches for his service weapon, pulling it from either his shoulder or ankle holster, taking a step back and firing at the door lock, the wood around the lock and the jamb splintering away. Stepping forward now, grabbing for the knob, opening the door to find a brick wall. Reverse on Mulder, taking a step back, stunned by the discovery, when lightning strikes, illuminating a figure in doorway in the background. As Mulder continues to step back from the brick wall, the click of the figure closing the door has the ominous weight of a wrecking ball. And if white men could jump, Mulder would be clinging to the ceiling. Instead, he spins around to see...
Who are you?
I think that's the question I ask you, being this is my house you're standing in.
The figure reaches over, flips on the light switch, bringing the overhead chandelier to life, filling the room with a warm glow, and changing himself from a shadowy silhouette into Maurice. He looks middle to late 50s, dressed casually, rumpled. He's got a cloth hat on, like he might wear around the garden, looking for all the world like a grouchy everyman. Regarding Mulder's gun.
This isn't one of those home invasions, is it?
Mulder eyes this man, uncertain of what to make of him.
No.
Good. Would you like me to show you the door?
Very funny.
I wasn't making a joke.
Have you looked at the door?
Yes. I'm looking at it now.
Mulder is nodding, scared but excited at the prospect of seeing a ghost, then venturing a peek behind him. Indeed, the door is still bricked up.
Tell me what you see.
I see a door with the lock shot off it. You gonna pay for that?
It's a door with a brick wall behind it.
Okay, sure.
You're playing tricks on me.
If I am, I'm sorry, but I don't think I know any tricks.
That's a trick in itself. You've been playing tricks on us since we got here, haven't you?
Am I to take it we're not alone?
Now that's funny, from a ghost.
The gun had me a little fooled. You're a ghost hunter. That's why you thought I was a ghost. We got a lot of strange folks come round with a lot of strange equipment, but I don't think I've ever seen anyone armed.
Mulder feels a little silly, but he's not convinced.
Strange folks? You mean like the ones buried over there?
Mulder gestures past Maurice toward the spot in front of the fireplace, but his face loses shape as soon as he does.
How did you do that?
New angle over Maurice to the fireplace. In the time Mulder used to open the second door, the floorboards have somehow been mysteriously replaced. The wingback chairs moved into their original positions.
I didn't do anything.
Mulder enters frame, moving past Maurice to the wingback chairs. Bends to check the floor under them.
There were corpses. Bodies under these floorboards.
Maurice watches Mulder with a judgmental eye, nodding.
Why don't you have a seat, son?
Mulder plops down in one of the wingback chairs. He rubs his eyes with both hands as Maurice comes and sits next to him.
You drink, take drugs, get high.
No.
Are you overcome by an impulse to make people believe you?
Off Mulder's look.
I'm in the field of mental health, specialising in disorders and manias related to pathological behaviour as it pertains to the paranormal.
I've never heard of that.
My speciality is in what I call soul prospectors. Cross-axial classification I've codified by extensive interaction with visitors like yourself. I found you all tend to fall into pretty much the same category.
What category is that?
Narcissistic, overzealous, self-righteous egomaniac.
That's a category.
You kindly think of yourself as single-minded, but you're prone to obsessive compulsiveness, workaholism, anti-socialism, fertile fields for a descento into total wacko breakdown.
Maurice's tone has changed through this. What we might have taken for a kind of lovable grump has given way to a blunt meanness.
I don't think that exactly pegs me.
Really? Waving a gun in my house? Ranting like a lunatic about imaginary brick walls? You're probably the type who's convinced he's seen aliens.
I have seen aliens.
Oh, you know why you think you see these things?
Why I think I see them?
Because you're a very lonely man, chasing paramasturbatory illusions that you believe will give your life meaning and significance, which your pathetic social maladjustment makes it impossible to find elsewhere. You probably consider yourself passionate, serious, misunderstood, am I right?
Paramasturbatory?
Most people would rather stick their finger in a wall socket than spend a minute with you.
Now hold on.
Is this the way you spend every Christmas Eve? Alone?
I'm not alone.
Maybe that's more self-delusion.
I came here with my partner. She's in this house somewhere.
Behind that brick wall? How'd you get her in here with you? Steal her car keys?
Maurice's analytic blitz has caught Mulder off guard, making him annoyed, if not a little suspicious.
You know why you do it? Listen endlessly to her droning rationalizations? Because you're afraid. Afraid of the loneliness. Am I right?
Mulder stares at Maurice, then, with great reserve,
I'd just like to find her.
Simple. Easy. Piece of cake.
Maurice gets up, moves off. Mulder watches him, then gets up too. New angle. Maurice is moving back to the door where Mulder shot off the lock. It no longer has a brick wall behind it. Maurice turns to Mulder,
Brick wall
points to his head.
or brick wall?
Maurice turns and walks right through the door, into the other room. Standing there, with his hands out. Piece of cake.
Go ahead. Change your life.
Mulder thinks about it for a moment. Could this man be right? Then he strides toward, straight on angle. Mulder heading right into lens when smack. He runs into an invisible wall. Reverse over Mulder. Mulder rubbing his nose, standing in front of the brick wall. As the lights go out, and the flash of lightning strikes, we match cut to Scully, standing pretty much where we left her, at the locked door. Interior, third haunted library, night continuous. The flash of lightning illuminates Scully.
Mulder?
But she gets no answer. She's frightened beyond an ability to think straight. Backing away from the door, turning and heading quickly for the opposite door, camera leading her across the room as another strike of lightning flashes, causing Scully to stop in her tracks in abject fear. Reverse on, the woman figure in the flowing white robe, who Scully thought she saw earlier in the room adjoining the foyer, is standing in the doorway, illuminated for an instant by the multiple lightning strike. Resumes Scully, who has the only response appropriate to the occasion. Reverse on woman figure. Scully goes for her gun, though her hands are shaking so bad she can't get it out of her holster.
It's okay. I won't hurt you.
Federal agent, I'm armed!
You're what?
Scully's still unable to get her gun out as the lights come on, revealing Lyda. She's in a white bathrobe, under which we see the collar and hem of a white nightgown, clutching at the front of her robe.
You said you're what?
I'm armed!
Scully finally gets her gun out, points it at Lyda.
You're a federal agent?
Please stay where you are. I'm a little on edge. My name is Special Agent Deana Scully. I can show you my ID.
Oh, Lord. Oh, goodness. I thought you were a ghost.
I can assure you I'm not. I'm an FBI agent. I got stuck in this room looking for my partner.
The gangly guy with the
Points to her nose.
distinguished profile.
You've seen him?
With you, in the foyer. I thought he was a ghost, too.
Scully lowers her gun a little, her chest still heaving with adrenaline.
That was you?
I sleepwalk sometimes, and I thought maybe I dreamed it. But then here you were again.
I didn't mean to scare you. It's just we found bodies.
Bodies? Where?
Scully's point of view. The floor has been replaced, as have the wingback chairs, as if nothing had ever been found there. Resume. Scully's reacting to this, to the impossibility of it.
You look like you saw a ghost.
Scully takes a step backwards.
There are ghosts in this house, you know.
Who are you?
I live here, thank you very much.
Where's my partner?
Why are you pointing that gun?
There were corpses under the floor, right over there.
Oh, I think the ghosts have been playing tricks on you.
I don't believe in ghosts.
Then what are you doing here?
It's my partner.
He believes in ghosts?
Scully's done answering questions, answering this last one with a look. And she moves past Lyda now, gun trained on her, heading for the door that Lyda came in, finding it locked. Turning on.
Your life must be awful small. Spending your Christmas Eve with him, chasing around something you don't even believe in.
Lyda takes a step forward toward Scully.
Please don't come any closer.
I see it in your face. The fear, the conflicted yearnings, a subconscious desire to find fulfillment through another, intimacy through codependency.
What?
Maybe you repress the truth about why you're really here, pretending it's out of duty and loyalty, unable to admit your dirty little secret. Your only joy in life is proving him wrong.
You don't know me.
Scully keeps inching backward during this, Lyda advancing.
You don't live here. This isn't your house.
You wouldn't think so, the way I'm being treated.
Why is all the furniture covered?
We're having the house painted.
Where's your Christmas tree?
We're Jewish.
Scully has backed all the way up to near the other door, the one she found locked a while back. Her gun still pointed at Lyda when the door behind her suddenly opens. Scully wheels, spinning her gun at the door, at the man who after a moment steps out of it and into the room. Maurice.
Hold it right there. Don't make me shoot. Stay where you are.
Maurice looks at her, at the gun, then over her shoulder to Lyda.
We really attract them, don't we?
Like birds home for the winter.
Where's Mulder?
Mulder, is that his name?
Where is he?
He'll be along.
Both of you, over there.
Scully wags her gun at Maurice, backing away.
This violates our civil rights. I have friends at the ACLU.
Maurice moves to Lyda, starts to put his arm around her.
Hands in the air.
Maurice lets go of her and slowly, both Maurice and Lyda raise their hands up above their shoulders, which allows Lyda's robe to fall open for the first time so that Scully can see a gaping bloody hole. Blown clear through Lyda's body, light penetrating the robe and nightgown behind it. And Scully, her gun still trim, going slack as she takes a cautious step forward and then another, angle over Maurice and Lyda as Scully approaches, her hands shaking as she reaches slowly out to Maurice and removes his hat so that we can see the gunshot hole in his head through which light penetrates. The reality of this hits Scully so hard her eyes roll back in her head and she passes out, falling out of frame. As Maurice and Lyda turn to one another, heavy-hearted.
See what we've resorted to. Gimmicks and cheap tricks. We used to be so good at this.
We used to have years to drive them mad. Now we get one night.
This pop psychology approach is crap. All it does is annoy them. When was the last time we actually haunted anyone?
When was the last time we had a good double murder? Not since the house was condemned.
Regarding Scully,
This is embarrassing. This is amateur kid stuff.
Maurice shakes his head at his handiwork, Lyda taking his hand.
We let our reputation slip. They're gonna take us off the tourist literature. Last year, no one even showed up.
Of all days, why did we choose Christmas? Why not Halloween?
Who's filled with hopelessness and futility on Halloween? Christmas comes but once a year.
Yeah, you're right. These two do seem pretty miserable. Maybe we need to show them just how lonely Christmas can be.
That's the Yuletide spirit.
The lights go out suddenly, and off a flash of lightning, end of Act 2. Act 3, fade in. Interior, fourth haunted library, balcony, night continuous. We are on the balcony landing where Mulder and Scully first entered this room, or the one just like it. Close on the edge of the balcony where fingers enter frame, clasping on the lip where the ladder went missing, knuckles going white, straining under his weight as he chins himself up from below. As his reddened face appears, a nice red bump on his forehead, camera is rising, tilting down to the floor below where we see a wingback chair he's used as a booster. As Mulder struggles to get his elbows and torso up and onto the landing, Lyda appears below him, looking up. Mulder doesn't see her, however, continuing to struggle as Lyda exits frame, moving under the landing as new angle on Mulder, struggling to get a leg up when Lyda enters onto the balcony through the door leading from the hallway.
Hello? Are you Agent Mulder?
Mulder has one leg up, caught in this awkward position, looking up at this total stranger who's called him by name, breathing hard from his climb.
Who are you now?
Lyda steps to the railing, looks down at the chair.
What are you doing using my chair for a ladder?
Trying to get out of this room.
Trying to get out?
Mulder pulls his whole body onto the balcony now, regarding the stranger warily as he gets to his knees, then to his feet.
Excuse me.
You can't get out that way.
He steps up to Lyda, who blocks his way. He reaches out and pokes her shoulder, as if to see if she's a ghost, hitting flesh and bone. Then he takes her shoulders with both hands and moves her backward. Lyda, still in her bathrobe, takes mock offense.
Masher?
Frump.
And with that, Mulder pulls the door open, eclipsing Lyda as he does, finding himself face to face with another brick wall. Reverse on Mulder. Reacting to this, then to resume previous shot. Mulder swings the door closed, only to find Lyda isn't standing where she was only a moment before. Resume reverse on Mulder. Reacting to this, then to...
I don't appreciate that. Being manhandled or called names.
Mulder turns around, but there's no one there.
Certainly not at this hour.
Camera pans down to Lyda, descending the ladder, which has magically appeared at the spot where Mulder just chinned himself onto the balcony. Angle on Lyda, coming off the ladder. Camera tilting up to Mulder.
You're a ghost.
More names?
She pushes the wingback chair to its spot in front of the fireplace as Mulder climbs down the ladder, moving to her as she gets the chair back just the way she likes it.
What happened to the two star-crossed lovers?
Let me tell you, the romance is the first thing to go.
Mulder's moving around to get in her face, Lyda avoiding this.
It's you, Lyda, isn't it? And that was Maurice. But look at you. You've aged.
I hope your partner finds you a lot more charming than I do.
And she exits frame in a huff, heading for angle on bookcase, where Lyda shuffles over looking for...
Let's see, where is it?
When suddenly books start sliding out from the shelves, high and low, popping out but not falling out, just long enough for Lyda to get a look at each title, to see that with each book, it's not the one she's after, sending each one back into its place with a...
No.
Books coming faster.
No.
Coming even faster.
No.
Until...
There you are.
And she plucks the book she wants off the shelf. During this, Mulder has walked over, watching the antics with due amazement.
I was young and beautiful once, just like your partner.
And she sashays away again, heading toward angle on fireplace. A fire lights magically on the spent logs, adjusting to Lyda, who sashays to one of the wingback chairs, sitting with her book. Close on book. Its title, Ghosts in the House. As Lyda opens it, camera adjusting to include Lyda, and then Mulder, who wanders over. Still not sure what to make of this woman, this ghost. As on cue, in the room, an organ or spinet piano in the room starts to play a melancholy little tune.
Look at us. Maurice was so handsome. He didn't have a gut.
She holds out the book to Mulder. Insert book. A young, fashionable Lyda standing next to a young, squirrely Maurice, dressed in the fashion of the times.
I hope you aren't expecting any great advantages to all this.
To all what?
I'm assuming you came here with similar misconceptions.
We came here looking for you.
Lyda is nodding, pretending to process this.
You didn't come here to be together for eternity?
No.
Because you're full of despair and woeful Christmas melancholy?
Mulder stares at her strangely, smiling as if he's being put on.
Why?
Maybe it's your partner then.
What about her?
You knew this house was haunted. Maybe you two should have discussed your real feelings before you came out here. I'm speaking from experience.
What experience?
Look it, I'm not going to get into semantics. In a murder-suicide, it's all about trust.
I thought you had a lover's pact.
Poetic allusions aside, the outcome is pretty much the same.
Her back to camera, she holds open her robe, Mulder recoiling.
Why are you showing me that?
It's not like you're going to be eating any Christmas ham.
You think Scully's going to shoot me? She's not going to shoot me.
Suit yourself, but if you shoot first for her, the rest is an act of faith.
I wouldn't shoot her either.
Maybe she shoots herself.
I wouldn't let her.
The body's under the floor. Maybe that was some kind of Jungian symbolism. Maybe it's a secret lover's pact.
We're not lovers.
Well, this isn't a pure science, but you're both attractive, and there's going to be a lot of time to work that out.
Lyda rises from her chair, holding a gun.
Go on, take it. Take it.
Mulder pats for his gun, realizing it's his she's holding. He rises now, taking a step backwards as she proffers it.
Think of it as the last Christmas you'll spend alone.
And Lyda disappears, Mulder catching the gun in midair as she does, as a flash of lightning bleaches the room, leaving Mulder in shock and wonder. Cut to interior, third haunted library, night continuous. Low angle on Scully, lying on the floor where she fainted and collapsed. A flash of lightning brings her awake with a start. It takes her a moment to remember where she is, before she scrambles to find her gun, which is lying not far away. Getting the gun, she rises to her feet on red alert. But as she scans the room, she seems to be alone. Moving to one of the doors, she finds it locked. Moving quickly to the other door now, across the room, but not reaching it before she's startled by the sound of a voice.
It's locked.
Scully wheeling with her gun at Maurice, sitting in one of the wingback chairs, previously hidden from view by its tall back. Getting up now.
For your own protection.
Stay away from me!
Scully continues backing toward the door, getting to it, and reaching behind herself to get a hold of the knob, all the while keeping her gun on Maurice. Turning the knob and finding a brick wall.
Let me out of here. I'm very capable of pulling this trigger.
Glad to hear it. You may have to defend yourself against that crazy partner of yours.
What have you done with him?
Kept him from his own mad devices, at least for now. Did you have any idea why he brought you here, to this house?
All I know is this must all be a dream. This is all in my head.
And there you are waving a gun at me, just like your partner. I don't know if you have any idea how seriously disturbed the man is, how dark and lonely, what he's capable of.
Maurice pulls Scully's car keys out of his pocket, dangles them.
Where did you get those?
He's got nowhere to go this Christmas, no one to go with. Did he happen to tell you a story about a lover's pact?
Where did you get my keys?
The man is acting out some kind of deep unconscious yearning, a deep-seated terror of being alone.
Suddenly, there's a loud, insistent knocking at the front door, drawing Scully's nervous attention. She wheels her gun toward.
Scully! Scully, are you there?
I'm here, Mulder!
Scully, open the door.
To Maurice.
Open the door.
It's this house. I've seen it happen too many times.
Scully's mind and heart are racing, lowering her gun.
I don't believe you.
Maurice is shaking his head at her.
Open the door. Open it!
Maurice does as he's told, moving to the far door, removing a skeleton key, putting it in the lock, giving Scully a last look.
Scully!
Scully nods to Maurice, gun dangling at her side. As Maurice opens the door, Mulder steps in quickly. Maurice is the first person he sees.
Where's Scully?
Maurice says nothing. Mulder's eyes finding Scully, to whom he quickly raises a gun and off this, end of Act 3. Act 4. Interior, second haunted library, night continuous. We're on Mulder, his gun still raised, walking forward toward, direct reverse on Scully, backing up as Mulder advances, terror in her eyes, but with the gun in her hand lowered as...
Mulder, what are you doing?
The answer to which is another gunshot, which squibs off the wall behind her.
Mulder!
Reverse on Mulder, advancing, gun raised and ready. Maurice behind him at the door.
There's no getting out of here, Scully. No going home.
He fires again at where the shot breaks a vase or something nice and explosive behind her. Scully, cowering from this action, raises her gun now, if only in self-defense.
Please don't come any closer, Mulder. Put your gun down. You're scaring me.
Reverse on Mulder, continuing to advance, gun still raised.
Go ahead and shoot, Scully, but make sure you're prepared to finish the job.
Mulder comes to a stop, having backed Scully into a wall.
Make sure when you turn that gun around, you've got the nerve.
Reverse on Scully, back into the wall, these words scaring her as much as the gun.
The nerve to what? I don't want to shoot you. I'm not going to shoot you, Mulder.
It's either you or me or you. One of us has to do it.
We can get out of here. We don't have to do this.
Even if we could, what's out there waiting for us? Loneliness. Then 365 shopping days to even more loneliness.
I don't believe you're saying this. I don't believe you mean a word of it, or...
Reverse on Mulder. He shoots, firing at Scully from close range. Close on Scully, reacting to the shot, to the hit her body takes. Looking down at Scully's point of view of her stomach, out of which blood is pouring. Panning back up to Mulder, who stands there with his smoking gun. Camera raking to Maurice, standing behind him, holding his hands up in futility. Resume close on Scully as she goes down, falling out of frame. Angle up on Mulder from Scully's point of view. As he steps over her, the smoking gun still in hand.
Merry Christmas, Scully.
And Mulder points the gun up toward his head as we, match cut to, objective point of view, dollying behind Lyda in Mulder's place, matching into her putting the gun to her head in foreground, while in background, at this highish angle, we can see Scully lying on the floor holding her bloody stomach. Camera keeps dollying behind Lyda to her opposite profile for...
And a Happy New Year.
Squeezing the trigger as Maurice lumbers into frame, grabbing her. Match cut back to Scully's point of view of Mulder, squeezing the trigger when Maurice bolts into frame, bear hugging Mulder with one arm, wrestling the gun with the other, pulling him out of frame, and another shot goes off into the ceiling.
Let me go.
Objective angle, where we see not Maurice and Mulder, but Maurice and Lyda, in Maurice's arms as Mulder. Mock struggling backwards to the door.
Let me go!
Mulder.
I don't want to be alone. Scully! Scully!
Maurice and Lyda sharing the private joke as he easily drags her out of frame, leaving Scully lying on the floor gasping for air. Lyda's Scully echoing off, a flash of lightning then, cut to interior third haunted library, night continuous. A flash of lightning. We are close on the door as Mulder shoulders it open.
Scully?
Mulder's point of view. Scully is lying on the ground in a pool of blood, her eyes fluttering, her body limp, her gun still clutched in her outstretched hand. She speaks weakly, with difficulty.
Mulder, is that you?
What did you do? Scully?
Mulder cradles her head. Objective angle on Mulder and Lyda. Mulder holding Lyda, not Scully.
You've come back.
I'm here.
I didn't believe it.
Didn't believe what?
That you'd do it. That I would.
Suddenly, Mulder finds Mulder's point of view. There's a gun in his stomach, panning up to Scully.
Merry Christmas, Mulder.
Scully, what are you?
A moment of panic before the gun goes off, sending Mulder backwards. His hand going to a stomach wound that starts immediately gushing blood. As his head falls back to the floor, his breaths becoming short, gasping pants, we cut to interior, second haunted library, night continuous, where we find Scully where we left her after being gunned down by Mulder. She looks quite dead until she rolls over, her face to camera, eyes lolling, maybe half alive. As she begins to crawl, we interior, haunted house, night, grand stairway, continuous. Mulder appears at the top of the stairs, wobbling from his gunshot, covered in blood now. One hand compressing his wound, one still holding his gun. using every drop of strength to get down the stairs, collapsing at the bottom. But only for a moment, before he drags himself on his stomach in an attempt to get to the front door, where he finds blood puddled and smeared in a place where he's not yet been. Camera reveals Mulder's point of view Scully, crawling slowly with great effort on the floor in front of him, toward the front door. Resume Mulder.
Scully!
As Mulder begins crawling toward her, low over Mulder, as he crawls toward her on his bloody belly, reaching her, just as she flops over and strains up into a sitting position with both her bloody hands on her weapon, pointing it right at Mulder, as if using her last strength to do so.
I'm not going to make it.
Her point of view of Mulder, as he crawls toward her, seeing now that he's at gunpoint.
You gonna finish it? You gonna finish what you started?
I'm not going to make it.
No, you're not.
And now Mulder drags his weapon forward, and from his position on his belly, points it at Scully with both hands.
Not without me.
But Mulder's out of steam too, barely able to keep his aim. Taunting.
You afraid, Mulder? You afraid of being alone?
Scully lies back now, gasping for breath, hands still on her gun. Is this it? But after a moment, she pops back up.
I am.
And they stay like this for a few moments, both wavering.
I am too.
What if help comes?
Help's not coming.
What if only one of us makes it?
A few more moments of labored breathing, wavering.
You gonna pull the trigger?
Are you?
They both appear to be resolute now. Drawing down, when Mulder loses his nerve, lies his head down on the bloodied tile floor. As does Scully, falling backwards again. They lie there motionless for a moment, until, without looking up.
You should have thought of this.
You shoulda.
You shot me first.
I didn't shoot you. You shot me.
A few more moments, then...
Scully,
What?
get up.
Mulder slowly picks his head up.
I can't.
You're not shot.
Scully's point of view, as Mulder appears above her, bloodied as ever.
Get up.
Reverse on Scully, looking at him strangely, weakly.
What?
It's a trick. It's all in your head. Look.
He's feeling at his wound. It all seems real, looks real, but he's now improbably holding out his hand to her. Scully takes this in, then slowly stretches out her free hand. Wide on scene, as Mulder pulls Scully up. They take a moment to orient themselves to this concept as we cut to exterior haunted house, front porch, night continuous, low angle, as the front door opens and Scully and Mulder's feet appear, shuffling out the door. Camera rising now to the two agents' clean but wrinkled clothes, rising to their faces, which are still unsure of what to make of these goings-on. Blank traded looks before they bolt. Camera panning them off the porch, where we see them running for their cars as fast as they can go. And off this, dissolve to interior, haunted library, night continuous. High over Maurice and Lyda in the wing-back chairs. There's a fire in the fireplace, playing off their contented gazes as camera slowly drops down. Somewhere else in the house, we hear the grandfather clock start to play its chiming melody on the hour. Looking up.
Hear that? It's Christmas.
One for the books.
Almost had those two, didn't we?
Almost had 'em.
Two such lonely souls.
Can't let our failures haunt us.
You wonder what they were really out here looking for.
Hard to say. People now, this is just another joyless day of the year.
But not for us.
Maurice and Lyda both smile deliciously.
No. We haven't forgotten the meaning of Christmas.
During this, camera has dropped into a two-shot and has been slowly dollying around Maurice and Lyda, until at this point it circles around the back of Maurice's chair, going behind it and then slowing to a stop as it reaches the space between the two chairs, where we see Maurice and Lyda's hands clasped, framed in the backdrop of the crackling fire. Camera rising now as the fire extinguishes, rising until we're above the chairs again, panning down to see that Maurice and Lyda are no longer in the chairs. And we dissolve to, cut to, interior Mulder's apartment. Close on Mulder, sitting by himself on his sofa, lost in some kind of deep, troubling thought. He's still in the same wardrobe we last saw him in, staring at, but not necessarily watching, Mulder's TV. Atop the TV is one lone Christmas present, slender and circular, 10 inches long. No other signs of Christmas or the season are in evidence. Resume Mulder over TV, when he reacts to a knock at the door, getting up, turning off the TV, then heading for the door. Angle at Mulder's door, and it's opened, revealing Scully, standing outside, still a little shell-shocked. Over the wardrobe we last saw her in, she wears a long winter coat.
I couldn't sleep. Can I come in?
Mulder opens the door wide.
Aren't you supposed to be opening gifts for your family?
Scully doesn't answer, moving away from Mulder into the apartment until she turns and...
Mulder, none of that really happened out there tonight. It was all in our heads, right?
It must have been.
Scully nods, unsure.
Not that my only joy in life is proving you wrong.
Mulder closes the door, moves in to join Scully.
When have you proved me wrong?
She stares at Mulder. This isn't the answer she was looking for, but it's a good question, one that adds to her weary anxiety.
Why else would you want me out there with you?
You didn't want to be out there?
Scully continues to stare at Mulder. Then...
Okay, maybe that's a little self-righteous, narcissistic.
No. Maybe I did want to be there.
They both stare at each other, haunted. Mulder moves to the TV, to the present, holds it out to Scully.
I know we'd decided not to exchange Christmas gifts, but it's just a little something.
Scully comes back now, softened by the words, the gesture.
Mulder.
He holds up his hands to silence her, but Scully reaches into her winter coat pocket, removing a small wrapped gift.
I got you something too.
Mulder is touched, taking the gift. They both sit down on the sofa together and start opening their gifts as camera pulls back and back through the window where it's snowing outside. And off this image we fade out.
Hang a shining star upon the highest bough, and have yourself a merry little Christmas now.
And it just leaves us to say...
Merry
Christmas!
Oh.
The X-Cast and X-Files podcast was created by Tony Black and is produced and hosted by Carl Sweeney, Sarah Blair and Kurt North.
You can find the podcast on Twitter at the X_cast, on Facebook by typing in the X-Cast, and in our group, X-Files Basement, the X-Cast podcast fan group, and on Instagram at the X-Cast pod.
Don't forget, you can support the show by becoming a member on Patreon. Our patrons get early access to episodes, behind-the-scenes chats with our hosts and a thriving community of X-Files, and other premium interviews and specials. To find out more and subscribe, you can go to patreon.com/thexcast. That's patreon.com/thexcast.
We are also part of the We Made This podcast network, full of popular culture shows, including our Millennium series, The Time Is Now. You can find all of our shows at our website, wemadethispod.com, or via Twitter at wemadethispod.
Thanks for listening and keep watching the skies.